Hello, community. It's Steph Miller here, ABIC CEO with Heather Harrison from AST. Hello, Heather. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you. Yeah, doing well. It's Friday. How could you not be?
I know. It's been a really long week, in particular, end of financial year week. Hey, everyone's been very
Absolutely.
busy.
Last day today. So, well, yesterday for us, because you have to ship legally, you have to ship and have it delivered before you finish the financial year. So,
Aha, there you go.
done.
So if you didn't
Mhm.
know that, that's a tip for everyone.
Yeah,
If you're thinking about joining ABIC, ABIC membership is tax deductible, so do it today.
good
You
point. Good point.
You can do it before, I think before 30, end of month though, because we're not shipping anything. We're just going to give you a welcome call next week if you join up over the weekend, for end of financial year. But I am so happy to be sitting here with you today, Heather, because we have known each other for a long time.
Long time. I was trying to think how long, but it probably ages both of us. So let's leave that alone.
Let's leave that alone. I like your style. But I've been a bit of a fangirl of you for many years. I looked up to you, right in the beginning of my career, and I still do now. You are a real big role model for a lot of people in the industry, and everyone knows Fanskin technology. Everyone stocks your brand. I don't think I've been into a clinic or salon that doesn't have some kind of product that you stock, and you have such a huge footprint, but such a good wonderful relationship with your partners, and you've done so much for the industry. So we're really happy that you're here today.
Oh, it's a
Much
privilege,
for
privilege.
advice.
And we're all about giving back to the industry. So this is part of that. And that's why we're foundation members of ABIC, because it's important for us to give back to the industry. The industry's given us a lot. And the people within the industry have given us a lot. And we want to grow together to be a really professional, collaborative partnership. So,
And we
yeah.
thank you so much for it. Being a foundation member of ABIC is a big deal. It is something that it's a big generous donation. It's a big generous I suppose commitment in terms of time and resources and funds. And without that support, we just wouldn't exist. And you know that the support, everyone, if you don't know, but foundation members actually subsidize the HR and IR and facilitator and resource support that we give to you. You get it at such a reduced price of $900, I think, and $88 a year, for full HR services, because of the fact that our foundation members subsidize and they give us funds for that through their membership. Otherwise, there are other organizations out there that do provide the same services, but they're much more expensive. So if you're part of the industry body, you do get a very discounted rate because of companies such as
You'd
AST.
only need to speak to one lawyer in a year, and you would spend more than that on one HR issue. And I noticed you sent out the newsletter today with a whole new, all of the new things that are coming out for the year as far as HR and all the things you need to be aware of with salaries and all of that. So it's very challenging, I'm sure, for a single operator or an operator who's got one or two staff to keep up to date. So that's why we invest, because we want to make sure that our clinics can be as professional as possible. We don't want them doing a George Calombaris where they get a big fine at some stage because they've been underpaying people by accident.
Of course, of course. And what you've just said is so true. We offer IR, HR, but also some legal stuff as well. So we actually have lawyers within our associates that can actually draw up contracts for you, not just employment contracts. I'm talking about if you're renting out a room, all of that type of stuff, advertising contracts. So there's so much benefit in that. Your small fee, you actually get professional services all year. So that's what foundation members and supplier members do, just especially foundation members, if you weren't aware that that's what they do. Apart from funding all the government stuff that we do and all the all the stuff there, it's incredible. And we will do small chats about that in the future as well.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It was very powerful for me over COVID when we got lumped together with hair, and really they couldn't see any difference between us and a hairdresser, and our importance in the industry. And you've done a great job of educating government bodies in this time. And at the meeting on Tuesday, whenever it was, that you were able to articulate some of the things that we've been lobbying the government for. And that's all about protecting our industry, which is so important.
So important. And you know, today's chat is all about the industry, about challenges, and we're going to pick your brain. Before we do, I really, really want everyone to know your history, how you came about to be the industry, or your experience, so that when we do talk, they understand the type of expertise and knowledge that you have, and they really give weight to this discussion because there's so much background that you have there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Heather.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll start at the beginning when I was much younger and had different color hair. Actually started my career in retail, and I did marketing first, and then I did a traineeship in retail. And in those days, it was quite a full-on traineeship. And I worked in retail for the first 10 years of my career, and most of that time I spent managing cosmetic counters and managing, often cosmetics, as we all know, is on the ground floor of a department store, and I'd manage the whole of the ground floor and some of the first floor in, and this was in Adelaide because I'm an Adelaide girl. So when I left retail, I was running at about 300 staff, and all of the challenges that go along with that. So I'm very well versed in the challenges of retail. Then I went across to the other side and worked for Estee Lauder for 7 years. And I did education for Estee Lauder for 7 years and learnt the business from that side of the fence, and understood a little bit about how big companies like Estee Lauder function, and worked within that. It wasn't, I guess I found it quite challenging to go from retail to wholesale.
Awesome.
But I met my girlfriend Trish then, and as I left to have my babies, she left to start Advanced Skin Technology. So
that's where you met Trish.
That's how long ago. Yes, so I met her. We worked together. In fact, we trained together at that early stage.
Wow.
And that was as funny as the two of us doing lipstick. Is like, you know, I've come from managing 300 staff, now I'm putting lipstick on. Whatever you do, whatever you have to do to make things happen.
You get it done, right? You absolutely get it done, yeah. So we worked together at AST, growing this business right from the very early stages. But she rang me and she said, Heather, can you give me some hours? I need somebody. And I said, yeah, I'll give you 3 hours a week, because I've now got 2 little kids. My youngest was less than 6 months old. And she said, that lasted, I pulled my dining room table over. This shows you how long ago. Pulled my dining room table over to the telephone so I could start with my telephone book and make telephone calls. And that started that. And one of my first calls was her asking me to go to a conference. And that was about where my 3 hours a week stopped. And right. I continued to grow into this business. And I've done a lot of the roles within this business to become now the managing director. And I've learnt it by trial and error. Let me say, there's been lots of learnings. And I've done some strategic courses along the way. I'm now a member of the CEO network. Oh, brilliant.
I believe that you need to have people around you who will continue to challenge you and continue to grow your mindset and to look at things differently. So it's, yeah, as I said, it's important for me to have amazing people around me. And that's my success. It's not me, it's the people around me. And when I'm doing interviews and employing people, I'm looking for people who are different to me. I don't want to employ more Heathers because I've got a Heather. I need to employ people who bring new skills and different personalities and different cultures, so that we can be a whole company and continue to be looking at things in an innovative way. So there's a little bit of my story and a little bit of my passion. You'll feel that my passion is people and growing them and helping, like I just said earlier, to grow the industry so that we can all support people to get great outcomes, to feel confident, and to believe in themselves.
Wow, that's very powerful. And, you know, very rare. Like, you think it might not be rare because you think everybody's got this kind of altruistic growth mindset. And then, you know, yours is do the right thing, and then the success or the profits or the whatever will follow, right? Get the right people and the right outcome. There's a lot of people in the industry maybe that don't understand that concept, and big companies as well, always looking for what's in it for them, the ROI, the ROI. I've been hearing the ROI at the end of financial year. I can't tell you how many times, and how many companies will say to ABIC, oh no, we're not going to be members because we don't get an ROI. We don't get, your marketing isn't working for us. And I'm like, we're not a marketing company, guys. I'm just putting it out there. We are an altruistic, not-for-profit organization that's fighting to keep the industry where it is. And it's all about people. That's exactly what you said.
Yeah, and an ROI
People.
sometimes is not very quantifiable. Like at Advanced in Technology, we put a big emphasis on education. Now, how do you quantify education? When we have 2 or 3 people in every state, how do you quantify that? Well, you look at the sales, but education is not quantifiable on its own.
On its own.
But it's valuable, and it empowers people to be the best that they can be. So an ROI is important, but it's not everything. And
No.
in these times when things are tough, and I think I've probably said this 4 times already today, is that you need to stick to what is right and stick to what you know works in these tough times, and do more of it rather than less.
Yes.
Because if you continue to do that, things will turn around, things will develop. But if you step back or reduce what you're doing, you'll end up reducing your business. You'll retract, and that's very dangerous for our industry.
You know, I think somewhere along the line from, I think it was maybe was it the CEO of Apple, or who was the Steve Jobs? I think I heard something along the lines like that, and it kind of stuck to me in terms of when times are tough, do more, not less. Don't cut back, do more. If you're doing advertising, if you're doing marketing, or if you're doing comms, find ways of doing more during those times, not less. If you're supporting the industry, do more of that, you know, or if you're into people and people is your thing, do more of that, help more, give back more. What a great theory.
Follow up more, be connected more. I'm not talking about spend more.
No.
I'm talking about do more. Because when things are tough, you've got to manage your bottom line as well.
Yes.
But it does mean working harder will get better results, and it'll build your foundations for the future. Sometimes you don't reap the rewards immediately.
You know, our industry, you've been in our industry a long time, so have I. It's how different was it when we first started? You know, you look around, the landscape is completely different, Heather.
Oh, totally different. I mean, I remember when I was working for the physician's service for Estee Lauder, and that's one of the things that we started. And when I'd go into a doctor and talk to them about aesthetics, they'd look at me like I had 2 heads. And to sell, that was almost like swearing. And now you look at, you know, our industry is full of aesthetic doctors who are making a great business, doing a great business in our industry. You know, you look at the advent of social media and all of the influencers, etc. The words are going that bring more to our industry. There's so much to do in our industry now, just to do the basics. Whereas the basics used to be, we'll do a glycolic peel and we'll do some skincare. When I started, hair removal was just starting. So hair removal with lasers, everything was waxing. So yes, I've been in the industry for a long time, and I have seen huge change.
Huge change from all the way from treatments to how we talk to our consumers, you know, marketing channels, you know, you were talking about social media, regulation. who does what. You were talking about cosmetic doctors, we've got beauty therapists, roles
Thermal
evolved
therapists. Yeah.
so beautifully. Like the beauty therapists have evolved from grooming back in the day and spa treatments, and that's still such an incredible necessary part of well-being and a person's right to feel a good about themselves, and so much connected to mental health. We've realized now that
Yeah.
that part of our industry is so vital for emotional and health and happiness, right? And then we've got the more treatment end of the industry, which is to do with health, skin concerns and things like that, also linked with emotional well-being and so
We're giving back in both of those, whether it be in the spa type treatments where it's more relaxation and treating ourselves better, or in our treatment protocols. We're getting better results in both of those because we're doing them differently. And what excites me is about the results that we're getting on things that in the past we just had to live with, whether that is mental health or pigmentation, let's just say, or anything in between. All of those things are building people's confidence.
absolutely
Building their self-worth. And that's what we do in this industry. And it's really important.
It's beautiful. It's such a worthwhile thing that we do. But all those changes have also, they've created challenges, right? So we've got challenges with regards to classifying what occupation does what. Beauty therapists are, obviously doing the same modalities or using the same modalities and treatments as dermal therapists, which is, the advent of dermal therapists after the addition of such incredible treatments to our portfolio. But now there has been such a shift and a change over the last 20 years to what this industry means, that education's not keeping pace as well as it should be, regulations lagging behind, unity's lagging behind, and people just in our industry aren't working as well symbiotically because we haven't had that framework. We haven't really had like an ABIC to unify everyone for the last 20 years and say, hey, look at all the changes that are happening. Let's all come together and work in this way. So a lot of the times now we're backtracking going, oh, we need to do some work in this space and do some work in that space in terms of regulatory, in terms of education, in terms of trying to advance our industry and elevate standards as well. Because obviously we do have people that you don't need a qualification in every state to do what we do, right? So that has opened up a kettle of worms, if you will, in our industry. And then social media is adding to this. So you've got skin experts on social media talking about skin and so forth. There's just so much changing landscape. I really feel for, I own a clinic. I feel for other clinic and salon owners out there, trying to get their voice heard and trying to differentiate themselves in this incredibly expensive and volatile industry.
It's really important that you understand what your signature is, and everything you do needs to be supporting your signature. So whatever that is, whatever your signature is, whatever your specialty is, that you are promoting that at every angle, whether it be in the treatment room, on social media, on your website, on your window, in your waiting room, with your receptionist, everywhere that that you have a touch point, you need to be promoting your signature. And I mean, somebody like James Vivian does that incredibly well. He's, he knows his signature, he's confident in that, and he promotes it. And every one of us needs to have a signature, whatever you want it to be, and the results that are likely to come from that, and be working towards it.
And if you don't have one, where do you start even to think about what your personal signature is, or we all know what we do. Do we all know how we do it and what our voice is?
And why you do it, and what you want, how you want to be perceived for doing it. And if you don't know, start talking to people around you. People will give you ideas. They won't create your signature, but they'll start to tell you what their perception of your signature is. Because we've all got a signature. We've just got to refine it, and then we need to define it, and then we can refine it. And then we can own it and be proud of it.
I love that. I like the asking. I'm sure just wrote that down. Ask people around you who you are if you don't know, and they'll tell you straight away, or they'll tell you about your business and why they go there, and then you can start by writing all of that down. And I love the example you made about James Vivian. We do have many people out there in our industry that are starting to really define their voice and who they are and what they stand for and what treatments they promote. I think that's really important because there's so many clinics and salons out there now. To have your own voice is so important.
And you can't be an expert in everything. You can't.
I agree.
You've got to choose your lane and know why you want to be there. And you might ask a group of people and you think, oh my goodness, that's not what I wanted my signature to be. But then you know, at least you know, and then you can start defining what you want it to be. Then you refine it, and then you start acting on it. But unless you, if you know, that's fabulous. But if you don't know, there's nothing wrong with asking people, you know, what their opinion is, and then you don't have to own that. You own what's right for you.
I think out there, a lot of us are resistant, but out there, there is so much diversity in there that if you don't take the time to do that, and I know there's so many economic challenges right now, it's hard to maybe go back and focus on the core. But if you're experiencing those challenges that are out there right now, that's the time that you go back and look inwards and say, okay, what do I stand for? How can I refine my message? Because that's what's going to make you stand out, right?
I mean, I look at Chisel Westcar. She's made a whole business around menopause. You know, and she started off in nutrition and refined and defined herself into menopause. Like there's so many things in our industry that you could be part of your signature. And then you can go deep and understand it well. If you're just skipping across the surface of a lot of things, you'll never be an expert in anything.
And that's why they call it, specialized, because you're a specialist in something. And that doesn't mean you can't offer a range of skin treatments in your salon or clinic. It just means that, yeah, because a lot of times when we say niche, specialized, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to cut out a whole suite of treatments. It just means what is it that you stand for and what message you want to give out there to the industry. To your clients, sorry, and how are you communicating with your clients too? I think earlier we were talking about going deep and communicating more with your clients and communicating in times like this. How important is that client relationship?
That client relationship right now is so important. And the amount of people that I talk to and I say, okay, so you're having a tough time. Have you followed up the patients that you sold to last month, the patients that you sold to 6 months ago, and those that haven't come back for 12 months? What's your follow-up plan? Where's your commitment to caring for the people that have already come through your door? You can spend a lot of time trying to get more people through the door, but if you can engage and reactivate the people who've already come through your door, the people that have got a relationship with you already, then it's going to be more powerful. And this whole follow-up, whilst it sometimes can feel a bit uncomfortable when you first start, but it's so important. When you connect with people, just think about yourself. I mean, if somebody connects with you and they follow you up and they remember who you are and what you did, and then they suggest the next step for you, you're much more likely to do that. So it might be that they say, look, I know you started on your skincare, you've been absent for a bit, how are you going? And then you start talking. Often people will then be giving you information about what they need next, and then you can feed them. And so it doesn't have to be a sale right there, but it's a commitment for follow-up. It's commitment for caring. At the moment, people are doing it tough, and they need people. We need connection, and we value that relationship. And so if we can follow up with our clients regularly and not just let them drift, and then, you know, people say, oh, they just go online. Well, they'll go online if you don't have a great relationship with them, because they're just it's a buy-sell relationship. If you've got a great relationship with people, they will be more likely to stay with you and to continue to grow with you and to get best results for their skin with you, or to be more relaxed or have better mental health, whatever it is for them, depending on the type of clinic that you have. It's that follow-up. And I had a great event. I was at an event at Me Clinic this week.
Oh, nice.
And she had, well, the whole clinic were involved, and they looked at some of the patients that hadn't engaged for a period of time, and they invited a group of them in, and they had about 14, 16 people in the clinic.
Okay.
On
It was an intimate event.
It was a very intimate event.
Nice.
But every single one of those booked in for follow-up. Now, sometimes,
and you attended that one too.
Yeah.
The managing director of AST.
I care about people. I want to be involved. I want
Wow.
to grow. I mean, the Me Clinic have been with us since they didn't have the Me Clinics on their door. It was the Ashley Centre. They've been with us for a very long time, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the clinics that stay with us, and we want to partner with them. Between Rochelle and I, we go to a lot of events because if we're invited, we try to attend because we want to support growth in the industry. And I'm not sure how valuable it is having me, but just being there to support, even if it's just to pick some glasses up and talk to a few people so that we can continue to connect. But that whole connection is, to me, what our industry's missing a bit. Because when things get hard, we put staff off, we try and do more with less, which we have to do because the bottom line's important, but never let it compromise the service that you're giving in clinic or the follow-up that you give. And you need to commit time to follow up. Because otherwise it just won't happen. It's a bit like social media posts that we were talking about before. unless you commit time to them, they don't happen. And when we're busy doing and we're not following up, we're not telling people what we're doing, we're not showing people that we still are valuing their relationship, things get worse. And that's what I talk about, is being committed to doing the right thing, being committed to giving the best service, and your business will grow. I also think that it's important that you know what you're focusing on. So if you've got a clinic with 10 brands and you've got two things from every brand, do you really know what you're focusing on? Do your therapists know how to sell it? Do they know how to pull a prescription together from multiple different brands? When the patient's at home, do they know how to do it? And are they really going to get the best results from that? So I really encourage clinics to have a core range in whatever brands they choose. Obviously, I'd like them to be AST brands. We have 10 of them to choose from. But
that's okay. Most of them do.
But have a core range within that so that you can do a prescription with the range. And that then shows the therapist and or the client or the patient, depending on what type of clinic you're in, that you're invested in that and that you believe in it. I know a lot of people like to pick and choose from different ranges, but then you're not necessarily going to get the best results. You're not going to get tried and tested results because different things are designed to work differently. And I'm a great believer in core ranging.
Oh, absolutely. And you AST diversify in other ranges. So it's within the AST family and suite of products, there's a lot of choice in there. But your core ranges are so comprehensive that, if we have a skin concern, we know that, like, for example, we stock Aspect Doctor, and a couple of other things that you guys provide, but we know there's a go-to there, and we know the prescription, and we know the process, and we know, and there's nothing worse than if you've got a therapist and they're confused at the time that they're supposed to be giving advice, right? And what's
Then they'll
confusing
do nothing. They'll sell nothing because
well, piecemealing does confuse, and it confuses the client. It does because they don't have continuity. So it's not to say that you can never use another product. No, there's definitely things that you can do, but having that core range, it really does simplify everything because the client understands the process, the client understands the commitment and the journey, and the therapist is not fumbling around because you will lose that connection with the client and that trust if you don't know what the answer is at the time that they're asking for the solution, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why education's so important.
So important.
And you can't educate, I mean, we can educate across our brands, but it's hard to cross brand selling to get the best results for your patients.
More difficult. It's
much more difficult.
It's more challenging for my therapist. I know they do get more confused with, we've got an array of products and it is confusing. A more advanced therapist can do it really, really well, and that's great. But you do need continuity, absolutely. And the other thing is education. You've spoken about education so many times. Investing in educating your people doesn't need to cost a lot of money anyway, because if you're with AST, you get so much, like the education is incredible. And you don't just educate about your product, you educate about skin. You guys are masters
and selling. And sales styles, all of that, we will educate you for free. Yeah. The investment that the clinic makes is the time in which they're paying their therapist, and or the time that they're out of the clinic. But that's very important because we're in an industry where it's evolving all the time. And even ingredients, I know even for us with ingredients, like you talk about Aspect and Aspect Doctor, we evolve our products regularly. So coming to training once a year is really quite important. So that you have the most up-to-date training, and then your therapists feel empowered to do the best they can. And I would be expecting your therapist to be doing 50% of their total sales in product.
Mine aren't doing that. I can put hands on heart. I wish mine were doing that.
That's how you'll have a growing and flourishing business. So 40 to 50% of product sales will get your patient coming back in regularly, and then you sell them treatments to go with that. So skincare is vital for the ongoing health. I always say to people that if you're not doing something in your bathroom twice a day, then you're really not getting the full impact of whatever we can do in clinic. You really do need to be putting your skincare next to your toothbrush and making it happen. Or if you're a man, you need to have it next to your shaver, so that you know that's the process, and you're invested in it every day, and you're taking ownership of your own skin health.
So, we're talking about the sales component and the recommendation, you train your therapist on that. So even with my 2 clinics, and I've had them for a long time, I don't invest in that type. I invest in the education of the products more than I would say, for example, recommending and retailing. But I'm going to take you up on that, because you provide education for that. I'm going to send my therapist, because we're not doing 40 to 50% of product sales. I wish we were. Give us some tips on how we can even start to think about
just even talking to your therapist about why they don't recommend. And often they'll say things like, "Oh, people can't afford it." But it's not true. They go next door and buy it. They'll go to the pharmacy. They'll go to the supermarket. They'll go
Door Beauty or something.
They'll go to a Door Beauty. They'll go to the department store. They buy it. Trust me, everybody buys it. It's just a case of where they're going to buy it from. Right. And unless you recommend it, you're not putting importance on it. And they've come into us. They've come into respected skin clinics to have treatments, get results. Then we need to give them the full prescription of getting results, not just do the treatment that they came in for. And that whole consultation process is very important, because you really need to understand why your patient or client has come into the clinic, what they want to achieve, what they say verbally, and what you see non-verbally. And it's sometimes people are quite embarrassed when they first come in. They're timid, and we need to build their confidence and their sense of worth sometimes, that we can tap into what they need and then give them the full prescription of what they need. I'm a great believer also in selling programs, because one treatment is never going to be the be all and the end all of anything, unless you've been given it for your birthday or something. And even if you have, there's an opportunity there. But selling a treatment tells you that this is going to take more than one treatment. Selling a program of 3 or 4 treatments, depending on what your modality you're using. So let's say if you're doing pills, you sell a package of 6 pills, and you say, look, you invest in this, and make it a value add. So you do 5, and I'm going to pay for the 6th one. So something along those lines, so that you're investing in that. And now you also need your pre-care and your post-care. And this is going to constitute then your ongoing treatment, the bit that you're going to be responsible for getting the best skin outcomes possible.
So it's like a partnership, obviously.
It is a partnership. Skin is a partnership. Nothing we do in clinic is going to have one treatment is not going to last somebody for their 80 or 90 years. Doesn't work like that.
Doesn't. I wish it did, but it really doesn't. So the question is, there's a lot of clinics out there that are clinics and salons that are struggling with financial hardship. It's really tough times. And honestly, it is probably we're seeing inflation numbers just came out. They are, it's up quite significantly, and we're up over the 4%. And now they're saying interest rates will go up maybe next year as well. And inflation will continue. We are going to see, and we have seen, a cut in discretionary spending. Our clinics are saying that they are struggling, profits are declining. Owners of clinics are actually going back on the tools and actually treating themselves. There is a shift. If you're experiencing it out there, you're not alone. We all are, even myself. So we're all going through this really strange transition where everything's so expensive that discretionary spend is dropping. There are things we can do to turn around or to help ourselves through that point, so that we can actually survive and then come out the other end and thrive. If someone is going through and feeling this financial burden, give us the top 3 things that you would do. I mean, you've already said find yourself, find your signature, and train your staff. But give us another couple of things that we can
find your signature. Definitely train your staff. Or keep yourself up to date. Like, often people, owners will send their staff but not keep themselves up to date. That's that whole, as women, we often don't look after ourselves as well as we look after anybody else.
Well, that's why discretionary spend has gone down, because women have stopped are saying, I'm going to do this for my family and kids rather than do something for myself.
That's right. So we need to connect again. I can't say this enough. You need to follow up with your existing people, as well as looking for new, but following up with your existing people, letting them know why it's important, letting them know why having their skin treatments are important for them and for their family, like connecting with them, having a relationship with them. I still think as clinic owners, it's really important to look at your bottom line, look at where your wastage is, look at the things that you could consolidate to be more cost effective, and certainly waste of products, having too much stock on your shelves that you're not rotating. And often when you've got multiple brands, you've got your favorites. So start looking at that. Now, you can do that 2 ways. You can start looking at, okay, let's grow our staff's education so that they know how to sell those brands, or fine-tune your stock holdings so that it's appropriate for you. But when you do that, go deep in with stock so that you've got stock. nothing worse when a client comes in and you can't supply it for them.
Mm.
Or they come in and you look like you're out of business. They'll treat you like you're out of business.
Yes.
You've got to be in business. And you've got to be able to supply what they need when they need it. Because when they're making that buying decision, they need it to happen now. You know, buyer's regret happens later, and we're good at that. We say, oh, I shouldn't have spent that money. I should have spent it on whatever else needs to happen in the family. But that connection is really important. We need to be teaching people how and why it's important to be looking after their skin. And then, as I said, your costs and looking. Now, when I say looking at your costs, so, okay, you've got your therapist doing the cleaning for 2 hours a day. Well, let them do the cleaning for an hour a day and do follow-up for the other hour.
Yeah.
Like really making it value add activities so that it's important that we're following our best practice all the time, because it's easy to get lazy and lazy with our treatments, lazy with our follow-up, because it's hard. and also the other thing is tap into other people going through similar things, or look for people who have been successful and tap into them. They don't have to be in our industry, but surround yourself with people who are successful, and success is catchy. And you're asking great, healthy questions. You're hearing other people's conversations, and that will help you to grow your business.
I love
there
that.
you go. There's a few little.
Thank you so much. Gosh,
Heather
we've gone through so many things in 45 minutes. I've taken throughout notes furiously. I think that the last thing you said as well made me think, oh yeah, you're right. I actually saw a whole bunch of blockouts for cleaning, but not many on I actually noticed that yesterday in my clinic. I'm like, it's so clean here. And people are walking around cleaning, and I'm thinking it's like cleanliness is important. It's like, get on the phones, guys. let's
I mean, it's important to be clean, but let's just do it and get it done, and then and have a discipline that you treat, you clean, you treat, you clean. You don't. It's not something you have to block out time for. It's something that's just done automatically.
When we don't have treatments booked in, it's like we tend to try to fill the time in for the stuff, but it should all be a lot filled with actual connection with clients. Just because there are no appointments booked in, why are there no phone appointments booked in, you know? I'm going to go and implement that in my clinic straight away. And definitely end of financial year means we're closing the books on this year and we're starting fresh. It's a really good time to look at your costs and your expenses and see what are we overspending on. I just did mine. I just had a look at mine and I was like, oh my goodness, why am I spending all this on silly subscriptions? Look at your subscriptions is what I would say, because I was spending thousands on apps I wasn't even using. The hopes that one day I would use them, you know, and never did. So
subscriptions, disposables, all those things that possibly you could just step back
just resell, a little bit, you know,
just a little bit, and make yourself more profitable.
I love that. Thank you so much, Heather, and thank you so much for supporting.
Pleasure. Hey, just remember that Advanced Skin Technology is around. We're here to support and connect with us because we really want to help.
Thank you. And yes, remember, training. You're going to get a lot of phone calls for training now.
Training to sell. I said we're not an education facility. You can go to an education facility for training's sake. We want to train for people to be able to have the confidence to sell.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Heather. Thank you everyone for watching. Obviously we'll have you on again very, very shortly, but enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.